know what's going on with the show. La 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 la. It's Wednesday. Katie's here.
Hello.
I think you are. Katie's on a different format right now. Katie's on magic phone angle.
I'm on a phone hanging from one of those little it's for nap for sleeping, so you can attach your phone to this kind of like lamp device, so you can just lie in bed and scroll through Tumblr and Twitter and then fall asleep and it doesn't fall on your face.
Oh, that thing. Yeah, I heard about that. This thing that Carol hooked you up
Yeah,
with.
Carol got it for us.
So I was figuring out some kinks in the system, so I hope if you guys are watching, trying to make sure the live Q&A is working. There's always something that can go horribly wrong every episode. But if you're watching, hopefully you see motion, hopefully you see movement. And now I'm hearing myself. Great.
Great.
But enough of that. It's Wednesday. Normally it's Tuesday. We didn't do a show last night. Had some stuff to do, but it's Wednesday. And we normally start off each episode with a question that guarantees us to know if this is working or not. Ugh, I hope it is. Because otherwise, I don't know who this show's for if you guys can't see it. Because this should be a live show. It's not a private chat, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Enthusiasm. For the sake of technology, it is...
Yes.
Recording. Broadcasting. It should be time for the Shanahanigans live if the broadcast works on the YouTubes. Isn't that right?
I think this is the angriest version I've heard so far.
I know. I just like things to run smoothly, but sometimes I don't. So, we ask a second time, same verse as indignified as the first. Is it recording? Is it broadcasting? Because it should be time for the Shanahanigans live. What are you doing this episode?
I'm inking Kingdom pages.
Oh, that's exciting. Let me see if I can find my keys. I didn't practice this beforehand.
I heard you.
Yeah, I was downstairs. Katie's gonna ink some Silly Kingdom pages. And Shanahanigans gonna curate this technology. Hopefully that all works out. My house is calling me, so there's probably tech support, and I'm gonna figure out what's wrong with it. Mid-show tech support. Katie, talk about your work, quick.
Oh man, it's fun. I'm inking with Pentel Pocket Brush pen. Support me. Oh, I think we're getting tech support right now. That means the show.
You're hearing me twice.
Oh no! Oh no! If stuff's messed up, guys.
You're hearing a backup loop? Tech support reports a backup loop.
Because I'm on my phone.
Okay. Oh wait, if you hear me twice, I think that's Katie. Is your phone... Tech support quickly. Is your phone open or earphones?
Earphones.
Katie's on earphones, but she still hears the backup. I hear the backup loop too. I don't know why.
I don't hear the backup loop.
Okay, bye. So tech support reports that there's a backup loop. If you hear my voice, I apologize. Write in right now if it's not possible. Katie's on her phone right now, so I don't know what's going on. But hopefully it's...
If it's not working, can we not do a drawing show?
Maybe not. I don't know. What happens if you switch over to your computer?
Alright, you finish up the theme song. I'm going to sign off.
I don't even know where I was. I was at the part where... Dang it. And this just falling apart because the technology doesn't work for us. Oh! Is it recording? It's broadcasting. It's time for backup loop? Are you there? I don't hear you, backup loop. I hear me. Well, I don't hear me. My earphones do nothing. Hello, welcome to Shanahanigans Live. Technical difficulties, of course, because anytime we try something different and unique, everything kind of falls apart in the end. Katie just disconnected, but she should be joining us again shortly-wise. I'm going to throw this to Katie quickly just to send her another invite, which never works either. Oh, jolly. How are you all? If you want to join us and test the quality of things, you can go to the Google Plus page, Shanahanigans. It's all good. There is the Q&A section there. You should be able to find it this time. Last week there was a test, like every time. where we hit the showcase button, which is a new software that's allowed to show you guys links and things. So if we were going to send you guys links during the show, you'd be able to click them because the Q&A section doesn't allow for links to happen during the show. But this time around, we're not using that because we want you guys to use the Q&A, and so you can join us that way. And Katie was going to be doing an inking show, but the phone was adding a feedback loop. Yes, technology. Once again, we can't control the beast. And I'm getting more phone calls. Tech support, hello. It's all good now? Thank you. Thank you, tech support. Always good to have support on the show. But if you guys can't get into the chat, I'm not sure what that's all about. Hopefully, Katie's on her way to be joining the show again shortly. But until then, how you guys been doing? We have a lot to talk about this week, of course. And I want to get into that with Katie, so you'll have to indulge with me in the meantime. Just to give you a sneak peek, though, last week we did talk all about San Diego Comic-Con, and I kind of alluded to some of the things, some of the panels I went to, and went in as much depth as I could over that period of time of the episode. I didn't want to bore you guys with so much information and knowledge, of course. But there was one panel I do want to go in a bit more depth, and it's all about the business of comics and the things like the contracts you're going to be signing. It doesn't sound terribly interesting when I say it, because I'm floundering for time until Katie can log in and join us again. Hopefully it works, because the audio is working now. Katie, save me. Can't do this solo. I don't have a dice. Usually if I have a dice, we play a role-playing game, I do a solo show. But if you're wondering what this show normally is about, it's we join each week and we talk about comics, arts, the video games, and sorry. There, oh, is Katie here? Hello?
Whoa! That was so
sorry, is that me normally, or is that just your mic?
It's a combination of both.
Okay, we're back in business.
Moving radio voice and my headphones are up too high.
We're back in business. Katie's here. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my microphone just in case I was too loud. How's that now?
You're probably fine. Yeah.
Okay. I'll put myself back up.
I'm going to test this, because this is a learning show.
No more tests!
Let's test the Logitech.
Every time we do tests, no.
Really quickly.
It's done. No, please.
Really
no more
fast.
Tests. No.
I can do it.
Please. No, you can't. Please, no more tests.
It's giving me the option.
Okay,
It's giving me the option.
Fine, do it.
You can kick me off if it doesn't work. Look at that.
Okay. So you found the Logitech after all this time.
I found the Logitech and it works, so you guys can actually watch me inking.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna make this work.
This is the part of the episode where I have a little button here that says skip to here. You guys are all part of this now. This is here. And good. Welcome to Shanahanigans Live. Sorry for all the technical issues. We were trying to experiment with new camera technologies called a cell phone.
Yeah, brand new camera technology.
You can encourage us by joining on the chat. Katie's messing around with the camera right now, so I'm just going to lock you off.
Yeah, just don't look at me for now.
And this is Shenanigans Live! What, episode 136? Why not? We've learned a lot in the past few episodes. You know, what not to do, what to do. If you want to join us in the chat, of course, the Q&A is in Plus. If you're just here to watch, though, on YouTube, that's fine too, but we won't see anything you write down until later, as he goes around making all these noises. Do you have your headphones in, Katie? No?
Okay, how do I mount this?
Oh gosh. I'm gonna have to do another time click thing.
Lights.
All you guys. How you guys been doing? We got a lot of stuff to talk about, of course. Everything gets set up, so normally we do that before the show. That's cool.
Well, I thought the phone thing would work, and we found the Logitech like 2 minutes before the show started.
Yep. Good. You about ready?
But, you know what, guys? Here, I'm gonna give you a tiny little tour of my studio. Since I got this thing working.
Here's it first.
Okay, so we're gonna look at. Oh, I can't get up too high, but this is my toy shelf. So I just dusted it, so everything's nice and clean. So you see, there's like Indiana Jones and Han Solo and toys. I can't move this around too much, so yeah, those are the toys. There's not a ton, but it's there and it's fine.
And supposedly you'll be inking or drawing for the remainder of the episode. Yes.
Yeah, I just need to position this in such a way that is good. So yeah, keep the thing on you while I figure this out.
true behind-the-scenes episode. As I was just prefacing, a bunch of stuff I want to talk about. If you guys are ready to buckle in for a bit of education, edutainment, I do want to go into a bit more depth on the workshops I attended at a Comic-Con, particularly the one we got Matthew Pritchard running. How's life been going? Shanahan's. Well, as you've seen here, a lot of destruction and noises our technology is moving to.
Oh,
You just about ready?
no, keep going. I can talk. Just don't show me.
Okay. Well, no, I gotta talk. We gotta talk about series movies. So.
Yeah, I can talk about. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So enough of this. Sorry, enough of this silly business and this stuff falling around. I do actually just want to address this because this has been, as far as entertainment and history and all this. All right. Point is, early this week, of course, by this point, you've all probably heard the sad news of Robin Williams passing away. I just want to kind of touch upon that, just because growing up as a child who loves the entertainment. Of course, we had our kind of holy trilogy of films as kids, be it Aladdin. Miss Doubtfire, friggin' Jumanji, of course, and you have your Hook and things. So it's always saddening to hear stories when people who you've basically seen all your life to a weird degree, like just kind of knowing they've always been around.
Yeah.
And hearing news like this, it's
well, it's kind of like I've heard other people describe it too, that it's almost like you feel like they're like almost a family member you don't see too often, like a third cousin or something that, like it's just people that were kind of a part of your childhood growing up.
Yeah.
It shaped a lot of your senses of humor and things like that.
I actually had a long talk about it today with a friend, kind of talking about how there is like the distance of it, of course, where it's like you didn't actually, unless you have, of course, met these people. But you didn't actually know them. But it's the idea of like, what are we but the sum of our memories? And if a lot of our memories are with these screen figures, these people who we've never actually met, but are nonetheless people who have informed us, entertained us, and been a part of our lives, it is kind of like something that affects you in kind of a strange way that you're not necessarily sure how to kind of comprehend all the time.
Yeah.
So it's tragic news, of course, and do us a favor, rewatch some classics. Aladdin's always been one of my favorite Disney movies, be it for the humor or just the colors palette of that film is incredible too. Just it's so filled with sanity and colors in life. But yeah, so just want to address that, of course, and just it's there it is.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. I don't know. But in the long run, of course, this interesting discussion has been coming up too a lot on the web of the concept, like not just concept, like the situation, how people deal with depression and address it. Also about being open with it. And I want to kind of quickly, well, maybe not quickly because I just say quickly because I don't have too much knowledge on the matter. But in the entertainment and the internet, the subject of depression has been being addressed a lot more openly, and this is a big part of it too. Is about openness. If you go to a lot of conventions these days, there's a lot of video game panels. Run by video game developers and industry people who talk about it as well, because it is a big part of working in the video game industry as well as just playing games, and people are becoming very open about it. So if you want to check out Danny O'Dwyer, he does a lot of work for, I think it's GameSpot, and he has a piece on it and a mini documentary as well, so something you may want to check out. And so I unfortunately don't have too much on the subject matter, so I can't recommend or say too many things I know affirmatively, but there is stuff out there, so people are talking about it, and it's get the word out. It's good to know as much as you can about everything.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's that. Condolences to the whole family, of course, and thank you for the entertainment.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, Katie, how was your day? Let's look into what have we been up to, of course. What you been doing, Katie?
Well, today, I know, like, how do I follow? Today's just been kind of like getting back into the work mode. We've been away for a little bit, and now I'm just back into the thick of getting some storyboard work done. And right now I'm finally able to take some time to work on comics, so I'm just trying to make sure I can keep plugging away at this, and hopefully we can get this done sooner than later, if I can just kind of keep trying to ink a page a day in my evenings.
So it's good. Keep it up. Keep going. And speaking of anything, this is on my list. Apparently yesterday was National Middle Child Day.
I don't get it. It's all these. Today is Left-Handed Day. apparently.
Yes, I was going to bring that up too. So yesterday, if you were a middle child, such as myself, congratulations, it was your day. Um,
Now it's over.
I, yeah,
It's back to
I
us
didn't
helpless
actually,
children.
I didn't actually do much for it though. A friend of ours wrote in saying the day is unfortunately overshadowed by first and third child day. So, oh well, we tried. I hope you had yourself a nice middle child day. And if you're left-handed today, of course, is your day too. So go do that. I suppose. I don't know what you do.
I think you're supposed to work with your left hand all day in celebration, but I mean, my left hand is terrible.
It's like, hey, please don't start inking. No, please use your
This
normal.
one page is going to be a left-handed page.
The main thing also, I think, who posted it recently? I just finished listening right before the show. This is something very important, I think, if we're going to talk about the animation world. A recent podcast episode came out from the Canada Land
Canada Land.
podcast ran by Jesse Brown. And this particular one has a friend of the show, of course, Adam Hines,
Adam Hines.
has a lot to say on the subject of
Yeah.
sweatshop and cartoon sweatshop.
This is something that they touched upon a couple of times on the show, and also just even candidly behind the camera sometimes, like we discuss a little bit of this stuff too, just kind of problems with the industry. It's something I think maybe a lot of people aren't too comfortable saying out loud because you're like, oh, I don't want to step on any feet. But I mean, I think he spotlights a lot of issues that I think a lot of problems that we do have in the Canadian animation industry. As I've been working for almost 10 years in the industry, and it's like a lot of stuff he's saying, like, yeah, I definitely can feel a lot of this. So it's definitely worth a listen, worth a discussion too. And that's on. Did you Facebook that on our page?
I just posted it, yeah, because it's like I only just saw it, so I want to make sure people get to check it out. Because it's we've talked about briefly before, I think, about the animation industry and how this like is the affirmation of everything we said before. It's how Canada is the overseas to the America of animation. How we're not the ones with the input, we're the ones getting it done for cheap, basically. Now there are some cases, of course, where there were a lot of where there were Canadian ran shows, but they seem to be more in the past with things like the raccoons. Those were raccoons, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, like there haven't been a ton of Canadian kind of run shows. I mean, there are some like I can think of some of my friends are working on right now, stuff like GarageBand and Looped. And all that is like made here, produced here by people here. Wild Kratts also, I mean, I think it's more of an American show, but that's something that's being created, written, and everything here. But I mean, there definitely seems to be, especially in the tween kind of and a little bit younger, like more kind of shows that are, like your Steven Universes and your Adventure Time, and just a lot of stuff that has a lot of broader kind of weird risk-taking humor that we haven't really seen, I guess, done here too much. And so Adam was kind of just going on about that stuff. Although I think I do see stuff working for the better a little bit. Like some shows you work on, like working on stuff like GarageBand and Looped. I'm like, yeah, I can see like some fun, a lot of fun wackiness being pushed in this. So I mean, there definitely, there's places we can go. I guess it's like we haven't gone there yet. Like we don't take as many risks as they do in the States sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what the talk is good about, because it just kind of highlights some of the problems just having noticed working in the industry that
to be clear,
could be improved upon.
The talk isn't to dissuade you from joining animation, because people still love animating. That's their passion. But it's just the more of the which culture, which country has it more creator driven.
Yeah,
and to be fair,
and to say too, like shows like Adventure Time and Steven Universe, all that, I do feel like they are kind of a little bit the exception to the norm too. Like it's kind of like in the States they can do whatever they want, but there are a ton of shows I'm sure that do get noted to death and do get kind of shot down by producers before you can really go nuts with it. You know what I mean? Which was one of the things he was saying. Kind of we have a problem with here, but I guess there just hasn't been enough stuff that's broken through that's reached that level.
Right, but like the situation also sounded like there wasn't too much of a chance for it to break through because of the safety net culture, where it's like
Yeah,
it's
which is a shame, which is a real shame
it's
because we have government subsidy for animation. It's like, oh man, we could do so much with it, but it's kind of like having that safety net. It's like, you don't want to rock the boat. Just
yeah, it's like why. Well, the line that stuck out to me mostly, I actually wrote down was it was kind of like the Canadian attitude with animation is why bother, where else the U.S. Attitude is why not,
hmm
kind of thing. So it's yeah, it's something that
I think it's
we can
definitely
be
just
confused
yeah.
in a way because the examples he gave was interesting, saying like Canada's like Toronto specifically, the video game industry is just fascinating here. Where there's
Oh
he's
yeah.
referencing some studios like Cappy Games
Mhm.
and the guys who make like Guacamelee and things like that, and they're just
Yeah.
kind of like because there's no CanCon for video games yet, or
Yeah.
maybe there will not be. So if
And
you make a Canadian game, you're not getting like jumped on being like you have to make sure the Canadian flag shows up and it's all Canadian actors and things like that. It's like they're just making what they want to make without boundaries. So like there's of course no boundaries, but not so much overbearing legislative kind of boundaries or something.
mm.
Yeah. Now
And then like
maybe
with comics too. I mean, the Canadian, especially the Toronto comics scene, is amazing. So I think it's just maybe letting stories breathe, letting people. It's kind of like when you have too many cooks in the kitchen and everybody's. It's hard to kind of get that one vision through. Um, but what was I was gonna say? I mean, the talent is here. There's so much talent here.
well that was also the main point is everyone once they show their talent they end up going down south to like do it where they can do it and it's just this perpetual system where like all of our Canadian talent kind of heads down there because it's like there's no real room to blossom, and that was something that tied into a lot of things. Like we talked about the is it Tara Strong,
Mhm.
her doing it was their episode on she's a voice actress who you probably heard by now, like Twilight Sparkle, Timmy Turner, Bubbles from Powerpuff Girls, and the main thing is in Canada you can only go so far until like as far as like payments and like certain types of jobs go when
Mhm.
then eventually you have to leave because the idea is like you've made this much money and you're like if you ask for more as Kevin Smith put it would be like well why would you want to do that that's not very Canadian asking for more money why would you need more you're getting enough
Yeah, you do kind of get the sense of more of a ceiling.
Yeah, it's well, now, once again, this isn't from my personal experience at all. This is me listening to what other people have to say. So things may be changing, or you yourself, if you're watching, may have the power to make the change because something has to be done. Because there's so much great talent here. Canada's fantastic. We do a lot of awesome stuff, but we just on the internet we can do it whatever we want.
Well, I think that's the
Yes.
thing that stops me from getting too like upset about any of this because it's like, well, you always can do your own thing. I mean, if you feel like you're not maybe hitting those notes you want to hit in your day job or your day projects, or maybe the stuff you're working on is aimed a little too young and you're not finding it super exciting, like you can do your own stuff and you have no limits and you have no middlemen. You can just put it on the internet. So I mean, there's nothing stopping you from telling the stories you want to tell.
Well,
Maybe getting and even like stuff like with Korra, the Avatar Legend of Korra not being on Nickelodeon anymore, and I mean they're just going to be streaming online. And then I think I remember hearing the Veronica Mars is now having an online show. Like I feel like a lot
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
stuff, especially with Netflix exclusive content, things are going more the internet and online and away from the usual TV. So I mean, you need the dollars to back it up if you want to make your own TV series. But I think it is definitely in this time is a lot more doable and accessible to get your stuff in front of the audience without having to worry about all the loopholes and roadblocks that you used to.
Yeah, it's interesting because there is a certain kind of, at least in me, I feel like, oh, I've, all the freshest, like newest internet stuff, like those people were fast and already did it, kind of things. Like, what new thing can I bring to it? But there's still, like, the internet is still not settled. People still don't have a guaranteed method of like gaining revenue from product. There's still
Mm-hmm.
so many different things to do. Like, there's you may say like, oh well, Facebook is made. That's the end. Like no one has to make another social thing. But it's like there's always something different that someone didn't think of yet that can, this net neutrality pending, can change how everything works. You know, so no, never feel like it's too late. Maybe you weren't doing things when like Homestar Runner was being made and you didn't make your series then, but it doesn't mean you can't start a series now.
But I mean, that's an amazing phenomenon too, because Homestar Runner existed, I think, before a lot of social media did. So it wasn't like you were getting your Homestar updates on Tumblr or Twitter or YouTube. You would go check the site and see what was there,
Yeah, like there's email, of course. I'm trying to think what was like your beyond your like ICQ is going like way back, I feel, but like what was that intermediary before you signed into Facebook but you're watching Homestar Runner?
It was mailing lists, I think. It was signing up for mailing lists, like new comic.
Yeah, it was like you sent an email to your friend being like, hey, did you check this out? Because I remember like our aunt was telling us about like Teen Girl Squad and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like we all just happened to find it at our own times, And beyond, it being like someone downloaded the FLV file to share it or something like that. Like I don't know. But beyond that, it was kind of like Newgrounds was kind of a big, community. This is like where like, your Ego Raptors and stuff came from in your, oh gosh, with Potter Puppet Pals and stuff.
Oh man, yeah.
Long before YouTube. So there's still time. It's not like it's all settled. It's like, well, Bravest Warriors and Being Puppy Cat already did it. No one's making an online exclusive series anymore or something like that. It's like, no,
it's the content. I mean, it's the media. It's not the message.
I haven't seen your version. I didn't get to a question that just disappeared. I apologize, and it was someone saying it was great to see us live, and it's great to have you on the show. I apologize, I didn't read it yet because we're still on the same topic.
Yeah, don't delete emails.
Yeah, don't leave your questions unless we're way off topic. But we're always happy to say, hey, I was on tangent.
If we don't want to answer it, we won't read it, but you feel free to just keep it up there. We'll let you know.
So to wrap up, that was a part of the podcast series called Candleland. The episode was Cartoon Sweatshop. It's definitely worth checking out. Adam Hines has he's been through all the many different kind of jobs and stuff like that. So like he knows what's going on. He knows a thing or two about a thing or two. So it's worth checking out. It's worth learning from, and it's worth just hearing like not for not to be like this is a scary industry. It's like you just gotta kind of know what the realities are to learn how you can change it if you want to, because everyone has the potential to change something. They just have to change it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a little too broad, but it's always possible. But it was a good listen, and I recommend everyone checking it out. Deleting that. Interesting news was revealed. Was there a female Link designed for an upcoming game? Maybe. Splashed all over the news recently that there was an art book for the upcoming Zelda Hyrule Warriors game, which is kind of like your Dynasty Warriors, but if you're a Zelda fan. So it's kind of the best merging of the two. But apparently, it's not scanned, and there's no official translation just yet, but there was a photo of a page of a character design for a female Link. And this has taken the internet, the imaginations of the internet by storm, and everyone's thinking the what ifs, or what could be, assuming this was, because the Hyrule Warriors team seems to be like doing everything that's right with Zelda. It's like all your favorite characters coming back. They're re-releasing all the original costumes and stuff. Unfortunately, those are pre-order specials per store, so I don't know how it's going to work out. Nintendo doesn't really usually deal with store pre-order like that.
Dang it.
So yeah, so I'm not sure what's going to happen. But hey, if you want your Ocarina of Time characters in a modern game, boom, you got it. What, you like your Twilight Princess instead? There it is. What's this? You like the Sword of the Skywards? Go for it. It's all there. Have fun. But I'm curious. I'm curious to see if they'd include the character, because when people speculated that the new Zelda that was at E3, they thought the Link seemed a little more of like a feminine design. People were kind of like, all right, like it's the legend of Zelda. There's no story that said Link was the male hero at the time. Who knows?
Well, there's that cute comic that went viral by Hannah Kay, where it was like it was almost like it was Zelda and Link's child was like the new Link.
Yeah, the new hero.
Where she was like, oh, I'm a princess. Like, that's kind of weird, Princess Link, kind of. But it was like this really cute, like, oh my god, yes, she's like gonna totally have to go defeat Ganon, save her parents, and.
I figured, like, why not? Like, I think like Nintendo at this point, they were pretty much in the right position to do it, because it's just like, yeah, just send it out there. I think people there will be people who complain, of course, but it's like we've played Link as a male character for like how many games now?
Oh, Link must always be male.
Doesn't it get a little dry? Why don't we get a little mix up a bit?
Let me mansplain you something.
That'd be fine. Like, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'm on board right now. If that's like the playable character from,
I will throw my dollars at it.
done.
That is how you vote with your dollars.
Basically, yeah, that's how, So once again, there's all these situations where it's like, if you want it to happen, you gotta like throw the money at it too. So it's like, if it's not like, if there's only one character, be like, oh, there's not 5 of them. It's like, well, you still gotta support the one so that eventually we can get to the 5. I don't know what that analogy means. The point is, it's stepping stones. If the companies are timid, we gotta show them that they don't have to be timid anymore. You don't just dip your toe in the pool, you dive right in. That's how we do it. So I was just kind of in this long talk about Marvel today, about how they're kind of in this interesting position, because I was talking with a friend today about Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
No spoilers here, not that there's really much.
No spoilers.
Anyway. But it was an interesting point that I didn't really catch myself, and she said, like, the interesting thing about Guardians and why it's possibly even more successful and like less, vitriol online and people being all like, this, change this, is because on the majority, no one really knew anything about the characters.
Mm-hmm.
So no one could be online being like, Chris Pratt doesn't look like Star-Lord, and that doesn't look like Groot, or whatever. It's like, no one really knew who they were on the majority sense of it. Like, even like if you want to go from your hardcore geek to your basic geek to your normal, like, everyday person to your person who hates comics, it's like, maybe at most the hardcore knew who they were. But it's just like, I had no judgment. I'm like, I have no idea who these characters are, so this movie, all I know is it has the Marvel title above it.
Yeah.
So far, they've been doing pretty good. So if you give us a whole cast of unknowns, we don't have prejudgment on them.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Which is something really interesting. Which makes me think it's almost better at this point for Marvel to like dig for other properties that you couldn't be like, because right now they like, here's the new
Batman. We're kind of exhausted on the mains. Like people have done the origin stories and what ifs to death. So it's fun with like, let's just try something that no one's seen and use.
Like I know very little about the Young Avengers, and like their comic can be doing pretty well. So if they put that up, I'd be like, I have no prejudgment of any of these characters, so I can't be like, that's not how his hood works, and her shoes don't look anything like that. Like I have no grounding to complain. That's the new goal, I think. These studios got to make less reason to complain. So it's like all unknowns, nothing, with elements of things you know. But you saw Guardians, right?
Yeah, I did.
Cool. Well,
I saw it in Montreal.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, yeah, you saw it while you were over there. Okay.
The AVX giant seats, big screen.
Oh yeah, the Ultra AVX. It's a nice setup. Yeah, it's a fun movie. Like, and I love that it's so well received for that reason.
Yeah.
That it's like it was unproven, it was unknown, and it had some known actors too, of course, because if you like your Parks and Rec, and
Yeah, I really enjoyed Chris Pratt.
Yeah, and like he held his own so good in Lego movies. So I'm like, all right, let's see him in live action with them muscles now. See what's going on. I don't know.
Yeah, them muscles.
Yeah, and it all just kind of worked out. It was a zany team. It was we didn't know where it was going to go or why, but it did it. And I'm like, all right, let's see what else Marvel's got up the sleeve. I think they're in a very good position to change the world.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully for the better.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have a reputation of just making fun films. So, I mean, regardless, whatever you walk into, you're like, well, I'm going to be entertained. I'm going to have a fun time.
As I explained, I didn't necessarily have any problems with like the Guardians movie. It was the movie experience.
Yeah.
Not a situation. In fact, it might be a non-situation. If there was a situation. So I went to see it at the VIP. This is the hot new thing.
Oh, teenagers.
It's like you're not just some schmo in a seat with a popcorn. No. This is the exclusive, very important screening room.
Where there's like,
well, how many chairs would you say there's in that one? It's like
70.
30 to 40 seats, you think?
It's a small theater.
Very intimate. As far as movies go, very intimate. And the setup is, it's a movie theater. It feels more like something that you go to on like a matinee. It's a smaller screening room. But it's like larger chairs. They're like very spacious, and you can put up the armrests so you can like snuggle and stuff like that. It's awesome. It's great. There's menu service. People come in with the credit card readers, and you're getting your fries. This is like not just popcorn here. I'm saying you're getting your chicken, your upside down cake pineapple martini.
I knew you were gonna get that one. I saw it on the menu and I was like, who would order this? I know.
It's like the first and only thing we ordered when we went. So you're like having a good time at this VIP screening. You're like, oh my gosh, this is like I'm the best. It's gonna be the best screening. So we're there. watching the VIP screening, Guardians of the Galaxy, summer blockbuster action movie. I have to say, the VIP does not suit the summer blockbuster scene as well as you would imagine, because it's so intimate and not small. I won't say small, but
imagine it does if you want to be the only one you hear laughing.
Oh yeah, but it's so intimate and in a weird way polite that the audience was like dead silent through most of the movie.
Ugh.
And this is like the Marvel action comedy movies are just like great to see. All right, I'm gonna read this time. Lillian says, "Hey guys, just stopping by to say hi. Good to see you live." That's what I wanted to read. Thank you. Okay. So, like, this is your Marvel, comic book action comedy movie. That's like, I was at like, premiere night at the, Avengers, and people are going nuts. It's crazy, and you're in it with a charge. You go to Wreck-It Ralph, and everyone's like laughing and cheering, and like, yeah, we're all watching Sugar Rush. This is awesome. You're at Scott Pilgrim, people are applauding during like action scenes like that. Guardians during the VIP is just a joke drops, and you might hear. And then, like, sip of the martini,
Honestly, though, I think that's a lot of what people enjoy about the big movies in the theater is that community experience.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the reason people really enjoyed that movie, too, is, like, being in a giant crowd, just yucking it up and everything.
Yeah, like that.
So I can imagine it would be a little bit like, you'd feel a little outside of yourself if it was like, nobody's laughing.
It's weird because what that did to me was every time there was a joke where I'm like, I knew this would go over so well with like the friends I usually go see a movie with. Like it's a very Whedon-esque kind of single human.
We'd all be clapping,
and we'd all just like lose it at that. But this audience was just like guy gets up to get more chicken wings or kind of thing, and it's like. And I basically watched the whole movie with this what-if scenario in the back of my head being like, that would have done better if we were in a big screening, and that would have been funnier if it wasn't these people. It's just because it was so, I don't know what it is. And it felt, at the end, it felt like I was in like a test screening room watching this movie, and they're trying to see if I approve of it, because it was so, tight-knit, and I enjoyed the movie. I would have enjoyed it more in a regular theater experience. I don't need the 3D glasses, just a bunch of people, a bunch of your friends. So I feel like what the problem with the VIP is it needs to be more for like smaller kind of people stories, smaller dialogue films, not the big summer blockbuster action films, because it just doesn't lend to that kind of film, unfortunately. But beyond that, cushy seats, and here's a tip, pro tip, kids. If you got yourself your scene cards, you get your 100 points a movie, you can use your scene points for a free VIP, and it's the exact same amount you'd use for a regular movie. So if you got 1,000 points, totally worth it. Absolutely, you're saving $25. Go do it. Pro tip. We got Shockwave9484 saying, do you guys think DC will eventually catch up in terms of success in the live-action movie departments? I'll say anything's possible.
Yeah.
It's basically they're on a different path, and they're not trying to be outside of trying to get the Justice League together. They're not trying to be Marvel because they clearly are going for the more depressing and deep mythological.
Well, they're trying to make superheroes, I think, more. I don't even know if "cool's" the word, but like. Well,
like legit.
Grounded in reality, I guess. Like, this is what it would be like in this world. But, I mean, for me, I find I go to the movies because I don't want to be in this world. Yeah. I want to experience something a bit more cartoonish and bizarre and bigger than life and not as grim.
Well, basically, like, if you can have...
A lot of their movies are kind of skirting the grim. I mean, friggin' that last Superman movie, like... That was not fun at all for me. And I mean, I'm sorry, I think it's okay to spoil things in that movie at this point because it's been out for a while, but, I think we mentioned this too, like Christopher Reeve, Pa Kent, he dies from a heart attack, right?
Yeah.
And that's sad because it's like, it's something that Superman, he has all the powers in the world and he can't do anything about it. Kevin Costner, Pa Kent, gets sucked up in a hurricane, in a tornado, and it's something Superman could totally fix. And instead, Paul's like, "No, stay there, because I don't want anyone to see you change." And then he gets sucked up in a tornado, and it's terrible.
Paul Kent died because he was a psycho, basically. We're in the recent version of the movie. In the original, it was a message
role model, because he's like, "Oh, maybe I should have let people die." Maybe you should have, kid.
And I know they're trying to do that to be like, "Oh, it's deep" and stuff like that. But I'm just like. It's a dude who flies! And he winks at the camera in space. Why does this have to be? Then, like, I'm sure there could be.
Yeah, but what if he was raised by
a madman on a farm? I'm sure there could be. There, should or shouldn't. I don't know if you
He's
want
like,
to say
I have to save the dog. No, don't save me from getting sucked up in this tornado. You're
no.
gonna watch me die.
There's something to take from it.
Terrible.
Maybe in the same respect as when Psycho was remade frame for frame. There's something to take away from this Superman that can be studied and benefit us in the future. But as far as a movie experience, I just didn't enjoy it. It just wasn't fun for me. And maybe that's the point. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be fun. It was supposed to be depressing and thought-provoking. I'm like, all right, if that's the case, it's not the movie I want to see, and I will politely not see it again. I'm good. Thank you. So clearly, to answer the question, DC isn't trying to be Marvel, at least thematically, in any way, shape, or form, because they're like, well, you know what, friggin' Dark Knight did killer. We got to stick with this forever.
Yeah,
And
but
I want the funnest, colorfulest characters to be brought down to the most depressing levels.
Well, and it's like when
stick with this.
It's the same kind of thing, I guess, when like Watchmen came out, or like the comic, or the Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. It was like this gritty kind of take on superheroes that was new and exciting and like.
Yeah,
really
you're used to it being all like, "Hey, Clark, I made you a birthday cake. Surprise! I'm Batman inside it." And it's like, "Oh, Batman!" It's like that would never happen in the Nolan verse.
Yeah. So I mean, as a juxtaposed against that, it was refreshing and an interesting read. But I mean, I know a lot of people that think the Nolan Batmans they're their favorite things. They're like, this is our generation Star Wars. Like they love it. But I mean, they just weren't for me at all.
Yeah. Like I don't want to keep beating this. Like.
And I love Batman. I love Batman. He's my favorite superhero. I just haven't really been.
Kevin Conroy or friggin' Adam West. They're the best.
Those are my Batmans.
Conroy is fantastic. Thank you. Nipples. Done. I
only have such simple desires for my Batman.
Yeah. I think, or was that actually the other guy? What's his name?
That was George Clooney Batman.
Clooney.
With the best suit-up scene ever.
Either way, so to answer that question, yeah, like I think DC will find its successes a little differently. But they're let's see what they do with Wonder Woman. That's the big question. Everyone's been like, how are they going to treat that? Because they've had her in animated movies, and people love the animated direct-to-DVDs. Let's see if they can do it in live action. Come on, guys, let's do this. We had a question from Louis Nato a little while ago saying, I hear way back Marvel announced a film adaptation of The Runaways. That's my wish. If they're planning to keep adapting lesser-known Marvel properties, it connects a lot with the mythos. Plus, Joss Whedon wrote one of the arcs for it. Yes, Runaways was a very interesting series. It was set in L.A., which, first of all, kind of is different from most of the comics, because most of them are set around, like, the New York area, unless you're, like, South Central, West Coast Avengers, or there's, like, Avengers in different sections. It's like the Mississippi, I don't know, it's like Hamilton, Avengers, I don't know. There's Avengers for everywhere, apparently. So I don't know if that's the case, but this was like they're set in LA, which is actually kind of unique and interesting as far as most of the comics, Marvel comics I was looking at. And the premise is it's all these kids who have some have powers, some are just good at what they do, but they're all children of the bad guys basically, and they just find out because they stumble upon like a ritual that their folks do where they shank someone, and then it's just like and then they decide what to do next, and so they run away. And now they're the Runaways, and it's a very interesting read. That it's a good mix of characters who they all kind of have now spread out amongst the Marvel youth titles. So like some of them will be in like Young Avengers stories and things like that, as well as they were in the what's it called? Not Infinite Crisis, but Civil War. They had because everyone had a Civil War story arc, and they merged Young Avengers with the Runaways, which is cool. It's like, hey, it's all like the youthy characters. But the interesting thing. We've talked about the book series before, Star Wars Galaxy of Fear, which is basically the fan-fictioniest of fan-fictional Star Wars books, writing off of the Goosebumps tailcoats, which is basically scary Star Wars, where the main two kids run into every main character at least once a book, where it's like, hey, he had a Mandalorian mask and a jetpack. What's up, Boba Fett? Hey, kids, don't get too scared. And it's like, all right. And next episode, it's like, we got a ride with someone with buns and a Chewbacca. It's like, hey, it's Chewie and Leia.
And every character that's not the kids or the special guest star dies a horrible death. Oh my gosh.
As we say, the best example was our elevator stopped. The other one wasn't as fortunate. I'm like, oh, jeez. The reason I bring this up is because Runaways kind of did this, where like every once in a while there was a famed Marvel hero sent in to like bring down the Runaways. So at the end of one of the first arcs, it's like Captain America shows up, and it's like, you kids are in trouble, and you're like, ah! But my favorite to date, I haven't read too much beyond like the first like 9 books or so, but my favorite was when they meet up with Spider-Man, and it's like in winter in New York, and he's like, I'm here to stop you guys, and they're like doing this standoff, and then he's kind of standing in the snow, he starts like, shivering a bit, he's like, hey, do you guys want to like bring this inside or go get something to eat, because it's really cold out here, and they're like, all right, whatever. And he just hang out with Spider-Man, he starts giving them the business, he's like, oh yeah, I know, I was a teen hero too, I know balancing school and stuff, it can be hard, and he's got like, they're having sushi, and he's got his mask like pushed up above his nose so he doesn't see his identity, but he's just like eating sushi with the kids. I'm like, this is awesome.
That's so
this
good.
is what I want to see in the movies, but unfortunately we wouldn't get that.
I wonder if that was was that the Whedon arc? Because that sounds like a Whedon arc.
Maybe, because he always brings in kind of that very like human level, which is already a pretty predominant Marvel trait. It's just it's now a more witty version, which is the Whedon kind of thing, where it's like these moments of like dry humanity spread in these larger than life situations.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was, if you haven't read it yet, The Runaways was fun. And then Marvel got onto the I think we talked about this before, but Marvel got onto the Hunger Games crazy train, the Battle Royale system, where they had like young Avengers and Runaways characters and the battle to the death.
Oh jeez.
Because they had to. And I read it and I'm like, huh. Interesting. I'm sorry, it was an interesting read. Yeah, read Runaways.
I'll give that a read.
Yeah. I'll have to check that out to see if we actually read a Whedon arc. But Runaways was neat. It had its own bizarre mythos, too, which I don't know if it was a part of the rest of the Marvel world. Something to do with, like, gods and things. Curious to see if they do adapt that. That would be interesting. I know they were about to do it, but they stopped. But this was kind of well before a lot of the other Marvel stuff was happening. Like, I don't know if Avengers came out when they were thinking about it, or if it was before. But it'd be interesting. It'd be more definitely a youth-centric title. It'd be more catered to that kind of like Hunger Games, Divergent, Maze Runner kind of crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be curious to see if they would keep it to that audience, or would they try to make it more broad. I don't know. I don't know. Shockwave asking, will Deadpool movie ever get made? If it does, it wouldn't be by Marvel Disney, because it's owned by mutants are generally owned by 20th Century Fox. All mutants. It was debated whether like Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were counted as mutants or just superheroes, because their father definitely is. But apparently they're different situations, so that's why everyone's fighting over them. But as far as Deadpool, I know that I think there was that animated test with Ryan Reynolds that was released a little while ago that was interesting, or leaked.
Yeah, that's about as much as I know with the Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's a Marvel, because this actually kind of goes into what we're going to get into in a bit, if you guys indulge me, about rights and distribution and stuff. Marvel, though, sold the rights to movies of mutants to 20th Century Fox, and they'll never give it back unless there's some huge money involved. I don't know if animated rights was in the same situation, because if you watch, your Avengers series and stuff like that, and your Spider-Man series, I believe that's now Disney-owned. So animated Marvel properties, even like really close CGI humanoid, I think Disney can still do. Don't quote me on this, but I think they didn't sign away the animation rights to Fox. So there could be an animated Deadpool movie, which would probably piss Fox off quite a bit. I'd be curious to see what happens in that situation. Actually, let's just quickly look at a couple more topics before, if you folks will indulge. Once again, if you want to join the chat, there is the Q&A. It's not the YouTube chat screen, which we will never see. It's actually in the Google Plus. There is a Q&A section. I was running around a bit today, doing some stuff, because I found out that Toronto, finally, we have the cultural know-with-all to have Toronto's very own popcorn place. Yes. Chicago was yucking it up all these years, being like, check it out, we got popcorn. San Francisco was like, check it, we also got popcorn. Colonels, bah. In Kensington Market, it's called Toronto Popcorn Company. And you're like, oh, okay, I've been to Colonel's. I know a thing or two about popcorn. What's that? You got strawberry popcorn? Oh, boo-hoo, I got it at Colonel's. It's great. No, my friend. This is strawberry cream pie popcorn, which kicks all of the ass out of any strawberry popcorn you've ever had before. Because guess what? If you go to the Toronto Company in Kensington Market, they have samples of everything. All around the store, you get a little spoon. You dig out a sample because they want you to know that you want what you want before you want it. It's supposed to like taking a dare. And you're like, oh, sweet popcorn, you're insane. I'm the savory folk. Well, guess what? I also picked up taco. That's right. If you love your taco powder on your meats, wait till you put it on your taco popcorn. Just as good. Tastes like a taco.
Done. I'm coming down there after the show.
Yes. Gourmet popcorn. This is 147 Baldwin Street, Kensington Market. Toronto Popcorn Company. Little shop just at the edge. Just right, terribly close to Spadina. So you're like, oh, now I have popcorn. I want Spadina. What can I do now? Well, guess what? You can go over to Anime Extreme and get yourself a pop figure. Which one, you may ask? Sharknado!
Oh, you found it.
Sharknado is amazing! I don't even like the movie, but this is so good!
This is so cute. That is a really cute design. Just
It's
so
just
boxy.
adorable. Like, look at it. It's just so cute. It's like, it's literally a tornado with the shark in the middle. I know what you're thinking. It's like, hey, you already got Bruce from Finding Nemo. Why do you need another vinyl pop figure shark? Because it's a tornado! Oh my gosh.
Also, they're different.
Very different. I'm a simple person. Tastes.
Simple pleasures.
That's
There's
what else.
nothing simple about a shark and a tornado.
Yeah, and apparently it's Shark Week now. And a friend of ours posted out a warning saying, like, prepare to be lied to, because half the people on Shark Week are lied sacks of crap who are just
Really?
living off of Jaws and trying to make you fear. Yes. Or else, I don't know, because, like, if you watch Mythbusters, when they do their shark stuff, I
That
feel
being
there's
said, if there's
bit
a
more
shark
watching.
floating around, I wouldn't throw myself at it like, hello!
Oh, yeah, true.
Better to be
But
safe.
I feel like the Mythbusters give a little more of a fair shake to it, because they're doing an interesting test where they're like trying to figure out if the shark can like just sense the human blood or whatever. And they did a test to see what sharks react more to, and they did a human blood and like fish blood, and the sharks liked the fish a lot more. They would change course when they sensed the fish blood nearby.
Yeah.
The human blood.
It's like, what is that?
Yeah, like
that
I'm
could
not
be
saying it doesn't
dangerous.
happen. Shark attacks do happen, but it's like they're
Everybody's
more.
like, shark attacks happen, it's because they think we're seals. And I'm like, well, I can't tell it I'm not.
Yeah. Well, the interesting theory was the idea of they're trying to figure out what colors, because among surfers the myth is yummy yellow. If you were yellow, are you more likely to get attacked? And like
Yummy
yellow
yellow.
surfboards and stuff like that. And so they're doing tests where they put out these like buoys with like colored bags full of like fish food or just fish and stuff like that to see which ones get attacked first. And interestingly enough, it was like silver usually got attacked first because it was like glistening in the water like a fish would. It would reflect the light. And then like yellow was definitely up there too apparently. So I guess the myth was true. But once again, watch your thing and see if you know a thing or two. Because I don't know anything about sharks beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond the fact that this one's just precious. Look at it. Sharknado.
It's really cute.
Great. Couldn't get it at Comic-Con, so
Frodo.
gotta make do with what you do.
You sent me that thing with the Hannibal pop figures going for almost $200 now.
Yep. As we talked about in our Comic-Con episode, the Vinyl Pop booth, which those figures come from, were swamped because they had the most con exclusives I've ever seen on one page. Like everything they had was exclusive.
That's
so
pretty
all
disappointing.
the flippers got there so they can buy them and flip them online. So normally a pop figure is ranging around $9 to $15, $20, like usually 9 to 15. These are now going for 160 plus because they're exclusive.
Yeah.
People buying them don't want to keep them; they want to flip them. Makes me sad.
It would be amazing if Pop just like flooded the market with them now, like, haha.
Well, I figured they still should do Hannibal figures. It just won't be the blood-covered one because I figured that's the con exclusive. Because like there's Mr.
I was more
Incredible
excited for the
figures.
figures. I don't really need the bloody one. I just was like, oh,
I feel like
fun.
they wouldn't make his model and not make a regular version. Like there's probably going to be a Hannibal line soon. Because it's got the following. Unless it was con exclusive because they're not sure if it has a following.
Have they done Final Fantasy stuff yet, or was that just something you found?
No, that's a different company. That's Square Enix itself doing the original. They're kind of similar in design, But it's kind of like if you like the Theater Rhythm series of Final Fantasy and stuff, like they're coming out with these soon, which is basically designed after the music rhythm game. And you get your Cloud, you got your Sephiroth, your Tifa, they got Squall coming out, they got Chocobos, all your favorites.
Chocobos!
But that's not Pop, that's something different. Art question, we got Hi Kitty from Lillian saying, quick question, do your hands ever hurt for drawing too much, and or what do you do when it happens?
They have. Actually, when I worked on the last Silly Kingdom, I was doing a lot of, if you can see now, I'm actually doing a lot of my brush work with the Pentel Pocket Brush. So it's thicker, it's like kind of a marker shape, and it's you still get a lot of versatility with it. But the last one I was using the Winsor Newton brushes. Let me grab one for you here. Good there. And if I open up my things here, you can see they are a lot, the handle's a lot thinner. And so I've got kind of a heavy hand, and I really hurt my fingers just with all the inking and just trying to find a comfortable way to ink that wasn't putting so much pressure on my drawing fingers here. You know, so I'd be inking like this or like this, but what I ended up doing to save my finger was just wrapping my brush in electrical tape to try and give it some thickness to give me some relief, which was a little bit better. Ultimately, all you can really do, though, is take breaks. You know, if it's hurting, just take a break. You know, 15 minutes, just walk around, stretch it out. You can find YouTubes with all the right stretches to do, the proper stretches, but it's, you know, these kind of things, to stretch your hands out a little bit, like gentle pulls like this or against a wall. You know, just even stuff like this, really simple for like a count of 10, just really gently pulling this way and this way. But I mean, really, it just breaks. All you can really do is take breaks. You gotta take care of your hands. And that happens sometimes with the computer too, where I'll just, if I haven't been working, doing a lot of storyboards and I'm in deadline mode, my hands will hurt. But yeah, it's really all you can do is stretch it out. What I used to do in college, because I used to get really sore elbow too, which is crazy. But like before I got the Cintiq, my Cintiq stand, which lets me move my Cintiq around, so I have a bit more versatility with posing. Like this would kill down here, and what people were saying was, oh, run your arm under hot and cold water, alternatively, to like help expand and contract it. So I mean, that offers some relief, but yeah, ultimately just gentle stretches, take breaks. If it's hurting, you know, you can take a 15, 20-minute break or call it a day.
Always get up and stretch, kids. Even if it's little stretches. It was the thing, like, if you go by every hour, every time an hour goes by, you should get up and like do something.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to
In fact,
be,
everybody stand up right now. Wherever you are, just stand up, stretch it out.
It's sort of like 7th inning stretch or whatever it is.
Well, doctors say it's the chair that'll kill you because everybody sits at their work all day and then they go sit at home and then they sit on the couch.
I don't have a standing desk, but I have a bunch of cardboard boxes I put my laptop on top of.
Yeah.
So I'm working on it. And now I'm working on how to balance on my heels better. So I have like this yoga mat I stand on.
That's good.
I put a lot of pressure on like my back heels, so I'm trying to lean forward more to use the palms or whatever. We got Yaiba saying, I tried practicing a proper pencil grip, but I always end up defaulting to my horrible kindergarten learned pencil hold.
Yeah, it's hard to break habits.
What's the kindergarten one? Is that when you just like hold it like a knife? Or
is it this? Because I've seen professional comic artists ink like this. Who was it? Gosh, I might be mixing it up. I don't know if it's Craig Thompson or Kazoo, but I know someone holds a brush and inks like this. Actually, Kazoo doesn't use a brush, but maybe it was Craig Thompson. I remember watching him ink, and it was like some crazy thing like this. I know friends that... It's even when I was holding the brush, though, you could see just like trying to do anything to stop it from... When you do like this, sometimes it's like the pinky will hurt. You're like, what do I even do with my pinky? So, yeah, I've seen people... Because, I mean, when you're inking, sometimes you're inking from your shoulder. So, but, I mean, yeah, this is kind of what I gravitate towards, is the 3 fingers. What is the phrase? 3 fingers hold the pen, but the whole body suffers.
Hoping it's going to rhyme more or something like that, but all right.
Yeah.
Lillian saying, thanks, I'll take more breaks. Always take breaks, guys. The computers are a dangerous thing because they're addictive as everything, because it's
time can go by really quickly.
You know. We got Shanahanigans radio exercises, says Yaiba.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Everyone, stretch your
arms.
What's
weird is I I do this thing. I got the term from my friend Stu Livingston. It's called 3 o'clock sanity breaks. I remember him tweeting about it once, but it's like at 3 o'clock, I just have to drop everything I'm doing, go outside, get a coffee, just get away from my desk. But I was thinking about it because we walked by a school on our sanity break, and I was like, do you remember when you were in high school and grade school, and it was like, oh my God, this day takes forever, and you would get out by 2:45 or 3 o'clock? And now in the working world, it's like, you'll be there till 6, 5, 6, getting your deadlines done. And it's like, in school too, you had gym class, you had your recess, you had your hour-long lunch break, and then sometimes when you're working, you don't take care of yourself at all. You'll just sit down and work for 8 hours and maybe have a chocolate bar or something. Like, you really have to work those breaks into your schedule. But it's crazy. I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, that was, to go back, I always like to talk about my 45-15 system, where I got myself a little chicken glove here, that every time I'm going to start doing work...
I like how you got a bit of an accent when you pick up the chicken.
I got a chicken glove. I set it to 45 minutes, and it goes off after 45 minutes, and I take a 15-minute break to do something else, be it to stretch, be it to wash the dishes, eat something, then back to the next 45. It helps keep you focused, because 45 isn't a terrible long time when you think about it, because when you think it's getting too long, you're like, oh, it's only 20 minutes left, I can handle that. And you're not tempted to go to Facebook in between that time.
Yeah, a lot of these mental tricks.
No Facebook. Stay away. I gotta stay off the Facebook so bad. Talk about this like every episode. I gotta stay away from Facebook. I had something. Where was it? So everyone, go stretch. Have a good time. Do that. Pentagon's new dining room. Oh, briefly, speaking of walking around Toronto and looking at stuff, a little while ago we talked about the board game Ladies and Gentlemen.
Yeah.
If you don't know it, it's one of the most bizarre but fun board games I've ever played, where essentially you play as teams of ladies and gentlemen who are both preparing to be the most lavish at the ball. And to do so, those who play as the ladies go off and go shopping. Those who play the gentlemen go off to do the markets in two kind of separate mini games that merge at the end, where you're trying to pay for each other's purchases and stuff like that, so you have the best outfit at the mall. When I bought it, it was kind of just a fluke or coincidence. I found one copy at Castle Games, just over on Spadina, just south of College. Walking by there, they recently added like 4 more copies, maybe some more. So if you want to get yourself a copy of Ladies and Gentlemen, and you're in Toronto, head out to Castle Games. You might be able to get yourself one. It's definitely a fun time. With your friends on the tabletop. That's that. I don't know if we had anything else we want to say about Divergent.
You mean the best movie ever?
I feel like I've talked about it so many times in the last week. I don't even know if you guys want to hear about it. Go watch it. You'll love it. It's the best.
The best.
Divergent. It's like, it's, as I put it, it's if you watch the Harry Potter and you're like, this sorting hat scene is really good. I wish it was a half hour longer. Divergent.
Was made just for you.
That's your kind of movie. Can't wait till the Maze Runner. Okay. If you guys want to indulge me in a little comic learning, last week we did our big Comic-Con recap where I basically told you guys as much as I could about all the panels I went to. This is stuff about voice work, stuff about getting agents, stuff about writing, being an editor, so many things. And the one panel I didn't really get into because it was possibly the best, most important panel I've been to at the con. And I'm just quickly going through my notes as I pad for time. It was about kind of the business end of once you got your comic signed, kind of thing. Now this is because, where is this? No, that's Sunday. This was like Saturday night, I think, of the convention. The panel was called, oh gosh, I'm almost there, I swear it. Closing the Deal. This is all the stuff that I know nothing about. This is why I went to this panel. Closing the Deal. It was ran by Andy Schmidt and Joe Sergi. You can find out some of their stuff at comicsexperience.com. It's an online school for the business end of publishing and deals, things like that. Now, granted, you're probably going to, at this point, possibly get an agent. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on if you're doing comics or graphic novels. But this is all little things, if it's your own creative work, that you're going to want to kind of keep in mind. Even if this is going to be very broad, it's not going to be in depth whatsoever. I don't know if you guys would rather look at Katie Ink while we talk about this, because it's a lot more interesting than my face. Okay, I'm just going to kind of glaze over this. So if you guys want to learn a thing or two, get your thinking caps on, get your pens ready, get your keyboards going. 2 kinds of contracts we talked about briefly was the difference between written and oral. So there are spoken contracts where it's like, hey, do a thing for me. Okay, I'll do it, and it just happens. But if you're doing work for hire, you're going to need a contract. or else you're not actually working for hire. It has to be written also to say that you are working for hire, kind of deal. These are like kind of little things along the way. There's interesting kind of contracts too. There's a difference between unilateral and bilateral. Unilateral contracts are, if you do this for me, I promise to pay you. Whereas bilateral is, if you promise to do this, I promise to pay you. They're two slightly different things. Look into that. There's something about capacity where it's like a minor can't sign a contract, so you're going to need a parent or someone to do it for you. So if you're like under, I'm not sure what the age of contracts is in the States or Canada.
Probably 18.
Usually 18. If you've hit it big and you got to sign a contract, you're actually going to get your folks or parental guardian to do that for you. So something to bear in mind. Because there are kids these days who are damn successful at what they do. I'm not sure how they deal with publishing and stuff, though. Because when they're online, that's one thing. But when you're getting a book printed and a deal, whole other thing. There's offer and acceptance. Everyone has to have a clear request for a contract. Let's see. Will you pencil a series for $100? Yeah, it's basically very clear. Same things like, will you pencil a series for $100 per page? Yes, I will. Versus, it'd be cool to work together. Yeah. So that email doesn't really hold up. There's consideration, and consideration is just the term used for what is in exchange for your work, and that's usually money. But you can also do a consideration for exposure. You can say, like, I signed that this book will get me there. I don't know if you want to do that, but that's an option.
The thing is, and I'm just going to touch on this super quick because I know you've got a lot, but the thing is, if people can't really pay you to get your stuff out there, if it's like, oh, this is for exposure, I mean, you've got so much exposure at your fingertips now with the internet. You can put your stuff on Twitter, on Tumblr, get it on blogs, you can get it on, put it on Facebook, get it in front of eyes. You don't need to make someone else, not wealthy, but like, you can do it yourself. For exposure, you don't need someone else to do that for you. Just be careful. That's all I'm saying.
I don't have any notes for this, but the phrase that says meeting of the minds, I'm not sure what that meant. But legal purpose was interesting because contracts can write things that are actually against the law, as in transferring rights to things that no one actually has the rights to. It's like, I can have a contract that says, like, I give you, Katie, the rights to Mickey Mouse. And you're like, well, it was a signed contract, so I have Mickey now. It's like, I have no place giving you Mickey. So that's an extreme example, but something to keep in mind on. Moral right was interesting. It was all about your good name, and this is actually more of a UK thing. For a bit.
I've signed moral rights too. That's interesting.
Yeah. If someone makes a bad adaptation of your work, you can take your name off it, and this is something that Alan Moore has done quite a few times. It's rare in the US. It's more common in the UK, but it's your moral right that this work adaptation does not reflect poorly upon you.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there was a case where, like, oh, the friggin' Avatar movie wasn't very good, so it's the creator's fault. It's like, oh, well, I actually had nothing to do with it, So
I like signing contracts with universal rights, because it's like, I like that it implies that this might not just be Earth we're keeping these rights in the future, because, we're going to colonize Mars and things are going to just go crazy. Yeah. Mars will be like the bootlegging planet.
Well, that was the situation. If you look at, we've talked about this a lot. I love watching these videos on copyright and stuff. Look up CGP Grey, as well as Everything is a Remix. Both these video creators have pieces on copyright. Everything is a Remix, episode 4. Fascinating stuff. You're going to want to watch it, as well as CGP Grey on YouTube talking about it. And it was talking about how, oh God, where was I going with this? You said Universal?
Mars? Yeah, Universal. Bootlegging.
Bootlegging, yes. It talks about how this was kind of the weird state because copyright was a very British thing. It was written by the Queen at the time. Was all about copyright as public domain. To be like, we want the creator. The sole purpose was we want the creator to benefit enough to support themselves off of this, but at some point this content has to become public domain for the betterment of creation, betterment of society. That was the core concept.
How nice.
It was you benefit, but then it's for everyone so that we can elaborate on it and make it better. Because there is something kind of scary about only one person constantly keeping the one idea. No one else is legally allowed to expand on it because contribution to existence is from multiple sources, not from just one.
If someone had a copyright patent on plumbing, when you see plumbing in the old houses with those old crazy pipes, and it was like, no, it has to be outside. You can't put it in the walls. You can only do this one thing. And then
that's the scary thing when copyright and patents apply to like medication and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, no one else is allowed to make this life-saving thing.
No,
it's like,
I feel like
die because of law.
I I'd like to think that people can't do that.
You would like to think that. We would all love to think that. Oh, what a world it would be if it could happen. So watch those videos. And they're basically talking about how after moving to America, away from England, the copyright law was kind of copied almost verbatim from England to be used in the States. But at the same time, piracy was huge because it was Dickens, apparently. All of his books were being like knocked off and printed in the States. And he had like this quote being like, what a shitty thing. I hate them. It was more Dickens-esque how he put it. But it was basically like, screw America. Ripping off my who that friggin' Bob Cratchit, you piece of I hate you all. So yeah, that's what we're talking about when it's like copyright now goes to Mars, because they're ready this time. They're like, no, you're not gonna leave the country and then start copying our stuff. We're gonna get you no matter where you go. Okay, back to Katie's art. This is a lot more interesting. If you're just joining us, we're talking about the panel I went to at Comic-Con about business and stuff, about signing contracts. And it may sound dull, but it was the most eye-opening thing ever.
Contracts are important to understand.
Let's see. Moral right was about your good name. So yeah, in the case of Alan Moore, of course, he often takes his name off of many things that are published of his work because it's usually not with his consent in the first place. He sold the rights of Watchmen to this. He sold the rights of friggin' V for Vendetta to that. And, this is all about reading your contracts and knowing what's up. He wrote, publishing contracts all suck. They contradict themselves in separate sections. So there'll be like completely separate areas and chapters of these contracts that contradict what previously was written. And it's like, it's so frustrating.
It is a smart idea to get a lawyer for this stuff, because even just animation contracts, like I will read over everything before I sign it, but I mean, the legalese is so confusing. You're just like, why can't you just tell me in normal writing?
Why can't you be more like Ing, which is just like, hey, dude, you got a bank account. Right on. Money's yours. Interest is yours also sometimes. Later, yo. And it's like, I like these hit banks.
This is speaking my language.
There's something always kind of like unnerving about that, too. It's like when your bank is like, sign in, yo. And you're like, okay.
I was expecting a little bit more professionalism.
What's P-dubs? Log in, bro. And I'm like, I just... Like right now, like, your password can be like images. It's like, baseball, a pie. It's like, associate a password to this pic, bro. I'm like, what? What's going on? Scarecrow. I'm like, you have a Scarecrow account, dude. Have a koosh ball. I'm like, all right. Thank you.
Just keep mailing you koosh balls.
Here's your interest can be in koosh balls. You've got 2 koosh balls. Like, thanks, bank. It's awesome. Writing that one down is genius. Koosh ball.
You're gonna look at that note later and be like, whoa, what is this?
Going back to contracts, the smaller the company, the less likely are to change or update terms because they don't have the money for legal advice on change. And this is really interesting because this touches upon, like, revising your laws and who owns rights and stuff is actually really important as media evolves. But a lot of these companies aren't changing the wording of their rights because they don't have the money to pay for, like, a small printing house isn't going to, like, revise everything because they have to bring a lot of legal stuff. So it's something to be aware of. You're going to be reading some archaic stuff where it's like, my comic is good for faxing. It's legal to fax my comic to everyone. You're like, what?
I guess it is.
What's a fax? What? You have little leverage unless I have a name. I'm not sure what that means. I gotta reread some of these notes.
If you have a name, you have leverage?
Maybe.
Even that doesn't seem like you do.
Some of these I have to skip because I don't even know what I was writing. It was like such a blur of writing down PowerPoints. There's exclusive and non-exclusive, which gives different companies publishing rights and distribution rights. So this is interesting because say you have a property. Say you have Super Fun Comic. All right? You can have exclusive rights where this company kind of does all of your promotional stuff. Like they do the T-shirts, they do the hats, they do the shoes, they do the movie deals and this and that. Or you have non-exclusive, where you're basically spread out the rights of your work to everywhere. Sorry, I've been looking at the picture of myself. I should be looking at you guys. What's up? So in that respect, it's like it's not it's not Mattel doing everything. It's like, okay, well, I want the toys to be made by Mattel, and I want these nicer figures to be made by Sleepy Giants or whatever that company's called, because they do a good thing. And you know what? I want the tiny figurines to be made by these guys here. And as far as movie rights, those guys get the animated movie rights. Those guys get the live action movie rights. And this is going into the whole Marvel scenario of like who they stole the rights of what to. Let's see. These guys have the rights to make T-shirts, but not hats, kind of thing. Only those guys can make the hats. But those guys make the replica hats, and those guys just make the hats with the character on it. This is interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm. I remember hearing you have different, different publishers as well for, overseas. In this country, this company has the right to publish my book. This one has the right to translate it. It's like different. But that's something you have to sign at the beginning too, I think. But
that was brought up definitely too, talking about the international distribution rights, and also just like there is also a difference between who is publishing and who's actually printing and who's distributing. It's all like you can sell off the rights differently to that, and like in the end, a lot of it's like Diamond is the distribution. You're not really gonna. I don't know if there's much else you're gonna do. They kind of run a bunch of that stuff.
It's pretty scary though, because I know too, you hear horror stories of a lot of young artists who will sign just really bad deals just because they're really excited to get published.
Well, yeah, that's the whole the net versus gain. It's like, what are you signing for? And if you sign for net, you basically get the money after everything else has been paid for.
Well, that as well. I knew an artist who had a hit book. And he wasn't getting paid for it. Like he was getting a minimal amount, but he wasn't getting the full amount because whatever agreement he made, they were taking the money from his book profits and using it to print other books because they didn't have to pay him back right away or quarterly or whatever. So it was kind of like he was making so much money for this publisher, but they didn't have to give it all to him, so they could keep funneling it into themselves to grow their company without giving back to him just yet. So you really have to read over everything. Look into getting legal advice. Take it seriously.
Well, this is where you're going to get like legal counsel. Like whenever you get a contract of this, like these contracts are huge too, and you got to be a part of the negotiations. An interesting one is called derivative rights. Derivative rights involve sequels and spin-offs, and you're given the rights to different people to do continuations of your stories. So if you want to have Rowling could be like, I give the derivative rights to whoever to write the story of Burley the Bard or whatever, because it's a spin-off of the Harry Potter world that she wouldn't be writing, someone else would be doing it, but it's like that person's derivative. And where this got interesting is they brought up the situation of Miracle Man between Neil Gaiman and McFarlane. It's been a weird situation because both of them have derivative rights to create comics based on the Miracle Man character. The problem is, when one person of a dual derivative right ownership, I'm not saying I know anything about this, I'm just doing this off of memory, if one person makes something with that character, the other has to be compensated based on the type of contract of derivative rights they were given. And this is where things are getting really complicated, because certain people aren't getting paid for using characters. So if two people own the rights to make derivative works, and if the contract deems that one person does something, the other has to gain from it. I think there's a similar situation with this between Lucas and Spielberg with Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
The derivative idea of who owns it and who's actually making stuff with it. So if Lucas makes Indiana Jones movie, Spielberg gets a cut, basically.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. If other people makes Jaws, I don't know who owns that stuff. So that stuff's interesting. There's also splitting up the language rights, of course, which we talked about. Who publishes to Germany, who publishes to Spain, who publishes to France. It's like that's, you can either, if your company's international, it's all in-house, win-win, but chances are it's not. So you're going to have to talk to other companies. And this is why the Harry Potter books were released from so many different companies. We had some umbrella company before Scholastic was doing it. It was like big umbrella.
Penguin, I think, is the UK company
that
published it. Yeah.
Oh.
Penguin Publishing, and then Scholastic here.
Trademark is forever. Copyright is limited, but Disney keeps updating it, so no. But yeah, trademark is you can own the trademark forever if you choose. But copyright was more tied to the public domain situation, which doesn't exist anymore because every time Mickey's about to run out of time, he gains more somehow. It's amazing. This one was interesting, going back to our good buddy Alan Moore. As long as Watchmen, DC has some fascinating, interesting contracts it made over the years. The Watchmen situation is, as long as Watchmen is in print, the rights don't go back to Alan Moore.
Mm-hmm.
What this basically means is, if you're wondering why every 5 years a new anniversary collection of Watchmen comes out or something, that's because if DC doesn't do that. If Watchmen is not in circulation, then Alan Moore gets everything back.
Yeah, as soon as it's out of print. And it'll never go out of print now.
Nope.
Too. It'll never go out of print.
That happen. Another situation I don't know if I wrote down here, and I think I talked about before, was regarding Wonder Woman and DC and the family that owns Wonder Woman. The rule is DC has to publish 4 books a year with Wonder Woman in the title, like above the credit, like it's Wonder Woman is the big title. Basically, the contract there was a lot of contract changes in that too, apparently, which were quoted as really interesting. So you guys want to look that up. But at the time, at least, the contract was if there's not 4 Wonder Woman books out within a year, Wonder Woman goes back to the family, which is actually quite interesting. And so far, none of these things seem to have actually happened. I'll bet like some of the Marvel movie situations where like they got Daredevil back and stuff like that, or and this also goes back to the whole situation with Marvel/Disney and all the other characters like Spider-Man, X-Men, the Fantastic Four. It's if Sony doesn't make another Spider-Man movie, the film rights go back to the original owner. This happens a lot with writers. A lot of scripts are sold. Many writers make a living selling lots of scripts that never get made because it's sold and optioned, but it's got to be made within like 4 years, 5 years. And if it doesn't happen, it goes back to the writer. And even lots of book deals happen like that too. Like a book that's going to be adapted, it's like, well, this company has the rights for the next 3 years to make a movie adaptation of my book. If they don't do it within those 3 years, it's going to come back to me, and then I can resell it to someone else.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's there's probably insurance and stuff tied to it too. There's probably so much going on.
It's like publishing kill fees. What's interesting about that is you would think you would need to write kind of the language, and this is tricky too because you would need to write it in a way that a company would want to even do it. But it's leasing the rights to the characters instead of selling it. Because it's like even something like with Watchmen, I'm sure they were like, yeah, we'll get it back in a couple of years and then we can do whatever with it. But it was like because that was the language was when it sells out, it'll come back to me. Like that, they were able to find a loophole to keep reprinting it forever. But if you have kind of like a timeline, like this will come back to me in 4 years, and then we can renegotiate. That's something that can't be, manipulated or changed. Where it's like, no matter what happens, we have to come back and discuss. The rights will be returned to me, and then we can figure something else out. But I mean, if a publishing company signs that, then,
Yeah. Well, that was all. There's the thing called the out of print clause, where rights go auto back, and this is like. The out of print is always kind of like subjective because at some point they can just print a quick version of it and be like, we reset the book.
Yeah, that's why I mean like making it leasing instead of selling the rights. Like,
well, because leasing is going to be indefinite. It's like you only have this until 2017.
Yeah. And
then we can re-up after that. And there's stuff about re-upping too. Like there's you can have written in the contract that you can renegotiate the contract whenever. And, stuff like that. Subsidiary rights. Are not the works of the original publisher. It's whenever your work gets split up into like multimedia, be it movies, subscriptions to book clubs, serial rights to be printed in another book, or merchandising. So subsidiary is kind of like anything that's not directly the original book. It's like offshoots, or if it's like because I remember for a while like we had like the Disney Adventure magazines, and they started printing Bone.
I remember that.
And, when they first started like coloring them, they showed up in like Disney Adventure at like the checkout line, and that would be like a subsidiary reprint of Bone somewhere else. So interesting stuff. So basically, the moral, the main lesson was you want to hold on to as many ancillary rights as you can, unless the people are really good at what they're doing, kind of thing. You want like as much of the rights as you can to do what you want with it, unless the company you're with has got their game in play. Was it? There's something about Image they talked about, where Image takes a fee out if published, but they don't take any of your derivative or ancillary rights. Lots of people, basically, he was saying lots of people like what Image does right now.
Yeah, a lot of people go to Image for creator-owned.
Like they take their fees out of the publishing rights or something like that, but they don't go after your derivative. So basically, they just do publishing, but you're in charge of like merchandise and stuff, so they don't really touch that, which is kind of interesting. Look into that. I have no more information on that, but that's something to consider. There's delivery and acceptance, where publishers' sole discretion is awful. You want them to give you a time limit for a fit for publication. This was interesting. There's actually a case about the decision of whether the work was the artist's best work or something like that. And there was a case about like this work was not to the quality. And
Whether
it's talking about that's kind of like based on how much time you're actually given.
Yeah.
Or what standard you are of liking your work. And it's kind of tricky to explain, but it's basically saying like delivery and acceptance. So if it's the publisher's sole discretion, that basically means like they could say like this isn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
You want the discretion to be kind of more in your hands, to be like this is ready, but there's got to be kind of like some sort of agreement, because they could be like this is awful, but we have to print it because we signed a deal. You know, it's tricky.
That's why there's so much paperwork, because it's just all these variables.
Yeah, you want to like include a firm publication date. You also need to guarantee a publication with a reasonable date. So it's like you want to guarantee saying this book will be published by this date. You know, guaranteed. It's not like willy-nilly. Rights of author approval, where you have you want to sign to say like you have rights to look over the promotions. Otherwise, they can just print whatever they want, being like, "This is a new kick-ass book." And you're like, "I wouldn't use that phrasing." And it's like, "This book is the best book ever. It's better than all the other books." I'm like, "I wouldn't say that," you know. So if you
this book kicks bone in the ass. You're like,
I
know.
like Jeff Smith. You know. So you want to make sure you have a say over how your book is. You know, once again, this is more if it's your original work versus like if you're writing for Marvel, you pretty much I don't think have any say over it. Like,
you are very much a work for hire.
Yeah. But if it's your own thing, you want to make sure you're able to like have say over how it's advertised and stuff like that. They talked about, and I'm sure you guys have heard this before. It's called the poor man's copyright, and it's basically what people keep saying. It's like, oh, just mail it to yourself. You know, your original script and stuff, and it's forever yours because it was in the mail. And the guy basically said, like, this is the most untrue thing, the unsafest thing to ever do. It's like if you really want copyright, actually put the work into getting your work, you know, copyright and stuff like that. Don't just mail it to yourself and just be like, oh, I have it. It's in this envelope and I haven't opened it yet. So if the jury will indulge me, you know, it's like no, you want hard copyright evidence, basically. I know Canada and the States have kind of different systems with copyright. I don't know if it's just like proof that you did it at all means it's yours, or do you have to run through the motions? I don't know. Scary world, actually. I don't know that. Just a couple more, because I don't want to bore you guys with amazing information. With an advance, you have to finish. There's some talk about like advances, how they show up, in what order, how much is the advance, and whether you have to give it back if the book gets dropped or not. Like, there's all these interesting things that you want to be sure to know about. Royalties, there's like net sales versus price. You want the price because, and in certain situations, the pizza counted as net. Like the pizza that was something to do with the Marvel's movie deal. The pizza served on set was counted as a part of the net. So you would like lose money based on pizza because the overall net of your book was
You're
like,
just running around slapping pizzas out of people's hands. Like, don't eat that.
Yeah, stop it.
This is my retirement.
So basically, you want. I guess it was the gain, right? Basically, that was that situation again. How to print, company, royalties. Yeah. So when it comes to royalties, it's price or gain. You don't want the net, but sometimes it's all you're going to get with a deal.
Yeah.
You can't do better.
That's kind of the thing too, where it's like, it's great to have all this advice, but sometimes it's like it comes down to if the publisher's like, well, this is what we're giving you, take it or leave it, and it has to be up to you to be either no, I'm not going to take that, and to walk away and try somewhere else, or to be like, you know what, I can fold on a lot of this.
Yeah, it's like I don't need all these rights and stuff. Who cares? He brought up out of print again, though, saying it used to be easy, but now with print on demand and e-publication, nothing is technically out of print unless you've outlined it as this many sales. So it's like if sales start dropping, that's the version of out of print where it's like no one's buying it anymore. Even though it's infinitely available online, no one's buying it.
I wonder if that's part of the ebooks.
Yeah, there's so many new legislations, like so many new things to take into consideration because of digital distribution. Your book can always be available. Outside of it taking up like a couple megs on their server, it's infinitely available. You know?
Yeah, because even like with Silly Kingdom, I mean, there's a limited number of books available. But I mean, anybody can order a comic for 99 cents on their mobile.
Yeah, it's so crazy that they can also get it for $5 and a physical copy and signed if they go over to friggin' SillyKingdom.com and just buy it. Go buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Competing sales is you can't create a similar property for another company. So that's like the idea of like we can't go and make Crazy Castle for some other publisher kind of thing if we had Silly Kingdom running. There will be like debate, like basically try to avoid the genre or the characters or something. Like if you're working with different companies, try to be as dissimilar.
I wonder how very like how scrutinizing that process is though, because if you're, I don't know, like fantasy writer or something, and you're writing a fantasy for this company, you're writing fantasy for another company, he's like, no, we can't write fantasies, or is it like this plot is very similar, or what is it that makes it competing? I
wonder. There's an interesting one. This is about the indefamation, if that's the right word, clause, which is about you making the best effort not to, cause trouble.
Ruin your image.
Yeah, it's like you're signing. I will try not to ask about on Twitter and ruin everything.
Well, that's like when an athlete does something, not necessarily to the flavor of promotion. They'll drop him from shoes or clothing lines or drink like Gatorade, stuff like that. Like whenever you kind of do something displeasing to the public, it's like, oh no, we don't want them representing us.
The interesting thing was with the displeasing, you can be on the publisher's insurance. So, like, there's money for a court case if you're displeasing.
Yeah.
But a part of that, apparently, you also want to make sure you sign that you will have a say in the settlement if something goes down. Because otherwise, it'd just be the company doing it, and they can just throw you under the bus or whatever.
Gosh,
Be like, it was him! We had no control! He was insane! It's like, well, great. There's a lot of things to sign these days, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. It's so confusing.
Once again, guys, if you're self-publishing, don't worry about most of this. If you're just, like, putting your book out and collecting...
doing your merry thing.
Don't worry about it. If you're just selling your happy little t-shirts online, don't worry about this. But once you start dealing with a publisher, you may want to get some legal counsel, you know what I'm saying? Let's see. They're talking about author copies about your book. So, like, say you have you got your best-selling book, whatever. How many copies do you get? And this is where it got kind of interesting because it's like, do you get 15 author copies for free, or do you have indefinite discounts on your own books so you can buy your books from the company but always at a discount?
You're undermining the bookstores because you can buy your book for a penny.
And like,
selling it out of a truck.
Well, here's the thing. I was talking about...
Friggin' Neil Gaiman is just selling books out of his truck.
Yeah. He's selling Ultimate Absolute Sandman for like $5. What the hell? It's like the Neil Gaiman wagon's on its way, my lovelies. It's like you can buy Absolute for free, cheap. Like, oh,
for a song.
It's on the speaker like diddle 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 diddle. Neil Gaiman's
the ice cream man.
That'd be the greatest day of my life.
That would make me really happy.
Neil Gaiman's Absolute Sandman truck pulled up.
It's like this black ice cream truck.
That'd be so good.
It's not even music, it's just him like out of the speakers. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. But on that note, there's also an interesting thing about competing sales, because if you're at the convention representing yourself at your table, as well as your publisher has their own booth, there's a clause about whether you're allowed to sell the same book. Whether you're allowed to, even though they're both yours and you're signing whatever, but it's competing with their convention sales, that if you're also selling at the same place. So these are also things you gotta bear in mind. Yeah, so it's like, I always thought it was just like, oh, I could run over to their booth if I run out of copies and just grab some more.
Well, I remember even at the San Diego, like at our table, it was like, ooh, where's Explorer 2? And they were like, oh, it's at the, what was it, Random House, I think?
Yeah.
Or Abrams. It was at the Abrams booth. And it was like, you can go over there and sign stuff if you want. And I was like, oh, no, I don't want to be a bother. But it was like, you'd have to go to this other booth to get that book specifically.
Yeah, because it's competing. It's like they're selling the book. And they're like, well, we're happy that you have copies too, but like we're trying to like make sure we sell our collection here, so you can go off and sell your book outside the convention center if you please. It's like something else, and it's a legit thing. Like these are, or maybe your contract you sign will be different, where it's like, yeah, sure, sell at your table too. We don't care, do whatever you want.
We don't even like books, whatever.
We're willy-nilly publishers, so whatever, we do whatever we want. And of course, the most interesting of all, movie cameo rights. So whether you're supposed to show up in all the movies or not is a part of it too.
It'd be amazing if you had a certain amount of time you had to show up in a movie.
I
15
demand
minutes of screen time.
a monologue per film, where the camera slowly zooms at me and there's no cuts, and I talk staring straight, holding a
And
bird.
it has to be at the most tension-breaking moment.
It's got to be in the middle, so people, can
Really-
have a bathroom break if they choose, but I still get my say.
It's awful.
All right, so that's it. I don't want to bore you guys, but I hope you found that
Oh my
interesting.
god.
Because it's definitely something to be considered. Now, once again, if you're doing the indie publishing, you don't have to worry about most of this. But once you start dealing with big numbers and a lot of people's jobs riding on your book, a lot of this stuff becomes very important very fast. That's Comic Book Law. Check out the website to see if you can find out more from them. It was a fantastic panel. I think it's just called Comic Book Law. Our comic books, comicsexperience.com. I don't know. It's one of those. Very informative panel. Even if I can't say I'm an expert in any of it, at least I know on the periphery of my brain something's up if I have to sign a thing or two. Get an agent.
Don't just throw your signature right on that paper.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Unless you don't care about the property at all. You're like, I just want to get it out there. The world needs to see this.
But at least read it.
I'm pretty sure it's very much like the iTunes thing. I'm pretty sure it's done. Proved. It's perfect.
I know, I do
That's
just
fine.
sign away my iTunes rights like crazy.
Cool. Well, that was a lot of yammering. We've almost hit the 2 hour, so we start signing out unless you guys have anything else you want to say on the chats. If you found this informative, be sure to say, oh, please continue to say nice, informative things to me, for I'm learning. If you found it utterly dribble, well, I'm sorry. You gotta learn, man. It's all
This is
this
a learning
fun
show.
games. This is a learning show, as we say. Katie, what have you been doing for the last while?
Thinking. Oh, you want me to show you?
Yeah.
I got just maybe 2 more panels to finish, and then this page is done.
Cool.
Getting there. I don't know. The quality looks really scribbly on my camera.
That's because it is.
Okay.
We
I
get
guess
the
it's just
general gist.
Scribbly. Things are happening in a cave.
Yeah. Don't worry about it so much. What is this? Spoilers? No.
Yeah.
Upcoming events. We briefly talked about Kazu a little while back. Kazu Kibishi. He's coming to town in Toronto, no less. What? This city, I tell you. Comic books come here to exist. Not only do they come here to exist, they come here to get launched. Kazu Kibishi, creator, Amulet, is going to be... Amulet Book 6 is premiering. Oh my goodness. He's going to be at the Toronto Public Library at Palmerston between 6 and 7 on Monday, August 25th. He's going to be doing a little talk and presentation. Right after that, 7:30, he's heading right over to Little Island Comics, just on Bathurst, just south of Bloor, to do a book signing. Little Island Comics, of course, the premier children's comic shop. Fantastic place to go for your children's, as well as a lot of Canadian content, too. A fantastic store to go to, and I hope it'll still be around after the whole Honest Ed's thing goes down.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they'll be moving together because I love those shops being right beside each other.
Yeah, it's great, and it's interesting because I hear stories of people just dropping their kids off at the comic shop, be like, there, take them. It's like, this isn't a babysitting thing, and their parents are off shopping, and Honest Ed's it's like, there's my kid.
Yeah.
Do you
Gotta
like
go
art?
buy some comics at the Big Island.
Yeah. The kid runs off to the Big Island. He's like, where's the European prince? Where are these tiny books? Children, I want the giant size. It's always the interesting thing. We always associate giant books to be like, oh, it's for the little kids, but in Europe, it's a standard, isn't it?
The biggie size, yeah.
Yeah, giant size. You can't take on the train. Black sad and stuff
Can't
like
fit
that.
it in your
so big.
purse. It's
Which is
loud,
great
though.
for the art, but portability, yeesh. Unless everyone has canvas bags. No, a comment
Probably.
disappeared. I'm gonna start reading these quick because someone disappeared a comment. Quickly, we got. Did someone say something great? All right. Well, Louise says, "Oh, please continue to say delightful things because I'm learning." Okay.
Excellent.
So in later shows, I might not dedicate a whole hour to things like this again, but I found that it was a very interesting panel. I'm really grateful I went to it. Learned a lot.
Yeah, I'm glad you made this such a educational convention.
Yeah, as I said, so to summarize my whole comic convention at San Diego Comic-Con 2 weeks ago, or whatever it was, I said to myself after I did all these panels of learning, my workshops and stuff, all about writing, about being an editor, about prints, about this and that, about voice work, I said next year I want to never have to go to these panels again because I will be so well versed in it all that it will not be necessary. So
Yeah.
hopefully I will not have to be to those so I can finally go back to my Gravity Falls panels. we got, hopefully I don't mispronounce the name, Kuzang Animations saying, first time watching this, it's been a delight. Well, if you liked it,
Oh, thank you.
make sure to like and follow the Google Plus, I don't know.
The
Join the Google
Facebook.
Plus circle. I don't know what it is. Go to the Facebook page. We'll give you all the links in a sec. So you can stay tuned to future episodes, and we'll try to keep you guys posted and informed as professionally as we can. We got Lillian saying, can't wait for the next Silly Kingdom.
Thank you.
You're watching it being made right now. It's in the process. Yaiba, of course, saying, your streams are always entertaining and informative. Can't thank you guys enough. You know how you can thank us. We'll get to that in the end, actually, because I want to with your money. Okay. We'll get to that, though. So once again, Creative Amulet, Kazu's going to be in town. Not only him, but Bannister's going to be hanging out.
What?
What's this? Nicholas Bannister. Oh, my goodness.
Whoa.
He's also, I don't have the date.
Amazing French cartoonist.
Oh, let me check this out.
Annecy. My goodness.
Because he's at Annecy, yeah. Because he's going to be at the Little Island as well. Let's see, Island. Come on, website announcing.
I think he's there next Wednesday.
I got a website that works.
Here, I've actually got
creators, of course, of the Elsewhere Chronicles, and we got Tib and Tum Tum. Nicholas Bannister is going to be Saturday, 23rd of August, at 12 p.m. until 4 p.m. in that Little Island comic.
As well as stories, I think, in almost every Flight comic, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh.
I think he and his wife Grimaldi are in pretty much all of them.
So if you want to meet some honest-to-goodness comic folks, Toronto, of course, is the city of comics. It's got all the comic shops. It's got all the creators. It's the best. It's got the best. It's got TCAF. Other events, of course, coming up. Fan Expo's coming up at the end of the month. We'll be avoiding it.
But we'll be doing all the after-hour shenanigans.
We always get stuck in the spiraled parking lot lineup of darkness and doom that there's no end, and we don't make it into the con anyway. So I will not do that again. But if you're going, enjoy yourself. Be friendly, be polite. Remember, cosplay is not consent. Nope. I can't stress that enough. I'm tired of hearing cosplayers being harassed and those dick-headed idiot moron YouTube wannabe journalists who just show up just to kind of annoy them and make fun of them.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Leave those cosplayers alone, because what they do is such a tribute to to bring your fan work into real life to share with others is such. It's partly a courageous thing, because a lot of people get like a little self-centered, or not self-centered, self-conscious about dressing up in public. But to do that, to also show the love of the things you enjoy, it delights the creators of the work too to know that.
Yeah, well, you know what, and it reminds me of when I was at San Diego, a really young girl came by our table and I was asking her, how are you liking Comic-Con? And she was like, it's the best thing ever. It's like Halloween where you all dress up, but everybody's superheroes and all these characters, and she was just loving that.
Yeah.
So, and keeping that joy alive.
Because our childhood wasn't very a cosplay one, because Comic-Cons were still kind of expanded at the time, and nowadays I see families in costume. I see the whole the Avatar family and our Lumpy Space Princess is the baby and the carriage and stuff like that. And
but I like this at Emerald City. I saw Saga cosplay where she had the baby in the front, and it was the guy had the horns, and it was perfect. It looked just like them. And
she'd have the wings and stuff like that. So
she had the little wings.
Cosplayers, I love them. It's great. And if you're going to dress up, tell us what you're going to do. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Probably. We won't be there, though, because we're afraid of Fan Expo.
Yeah.
It used to be a thing of delight.
We might be scuttling around the outside.
We'll be running around at the Jackcasters, sure. That's where we go for our nachos after the con. That's coming up this weekend, actually. This Saturday at the Royal Cinema, the Angry Video Game Nerd movie is going to be screening. I'll be checking that out. Hopefully, I'm going to have myself a good time. But I think there's still tickets if you want to get yours. You can either get them at the theater, or I think you can also go to ANC Games, I believe, or selling the tickets. Or if you follow Con Bravo, they're talking about it too, because I think they're partly sponsoring, or mostly sponsoring. Oh no, they're involved in great ways of bringing the Angry Video Game Nerd movie to Toronto. Check that out. Con Bravo, of course, you want to follow them. They're always coming up with the new and crazy things to do with their convention, and they'll be their next con is when their next con is next year. So the con's coming up that we're gonna do. I don't think there's anything else we're doing this year, is there?
No, I think that was the end of our conventions, pretty much.
Yeah, Comic-Con's kind of that's the thing.
Comic-Con's kind of the end of the year, and then you're like, oh my god, I gotta get cracking.
I gotta make more stuff.
I gotta make stuff for next year.
For the next season of shows. So we have no shows coming up, but if you want your video entertainments, of course, Gravity Falls is back with season 2.
Oh my
I haven't
god.
seen any yet. I got to get on that, so maybe I'll do that while I eat this delicious, delicious strawberry popcorn.
Gotta catch up.
What else? What else? What else? Episodes of Korra. I haven't seen any new ones since they gave
No,
us
I
a
haven't
full
seen
episode at
any.
Comic-Con, which was awesome. Very good episode.
Do you guys want to
Season
watch it
3
after?
Yes, season
Okay.
3 of Korra so far has been fantastic. If you've been kind of like wavering on it because you're like, the endings of the other seasons. No. This season has been jaw dropping. It's been so good. So support the show, buy your Pagu plushies or whatever you got to do to show support. Because we love ourselves some Korra. It's got some of the best action in modern animation. It's always fresh each time. And some of the greatest characters too. There's some great depth, some
I really like it.
complications.
What I really liked with the talk we went to, where the voice actress for Korra was saying that a lot of times people ask her questions like, "Do you actually like Korra?" Like, because I guess it's they find her kind of her personality maybe to be a little bit off-putting. But I mean, as she said it, I was like, she's a human being. You know, she gets frustrated. She's cocky. She's like, she can be just totally full of herself. She can be really self-conscious and insecure. Like, she's a multifaceted character that's learning and growing and developing. So, yeah, that's what I enjoy. And lots of cool fighting.
Beyond that, any comics to recommend? What you reading these days?
What am I reading? I was just taking a quick look at my calendar to see if there's anything I can recommend. Oh gosh, a lot of French comics. A lot of stuff I've been picking up from San Diego. Gosh, I feel like I just read something the other day. Okay, well, I don't remember what I'm reading right now, but I'm listening to an audiobook while I'm working. And it's the Rogues audiobook, which is a bunch of books around the theme of rogues that's curated by George R.R. Martin of Game of Thrones. And some, as an anthology, it's like you'll like some stories better than others. And there was one story I really, really loved. I was tweeting about it, called A Year in a Day in Old Theridane. And it's kind of like it's the story of these this band of lady thieves that have been forced into retirement. And then they're forced to come out of retirement to steal a street. And it's like trying to find a way to steal an entire street, and it's just really funny. The dialogue's really funny.
That sounds very.
I think you would like it a lot. Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Discworld, but just dialogue's funny. Like the characters are really interesting. The world setup's really interesting. They have a friend that she's like a wizard, but she's also like a mixologist. So she'll make cocktails, and it'll be like, oh, I'll make you a Fall of Empires, and it's this layered drink, and then the first layer is like kind of this image of grasslands, and then the second layer is like the buildup of a city, and the final layer at top is like the destruction of a city, and this is just a drink.
Yeah.
That you drink, and I was like, that's amazing. I love that.
It's a book on tape, you say? Like it's an anthology book on tape?
Yeah, I have it on Audible, and this one is read by Gwendolyn Christie, who is the actress who plays Brienne of Tarth on
get out!
Game of Thrones
Really?
series. Yeah,
That's awesome.
And I listened to another story that was read by who is he? Littlefinger? No, the guy who's like, have I told you what happened to my genitals?
That guy.
Yeah.
Wait, does he read all of like the Martin's curated stuff? Did he get the cast?
Just the one. Yeah, those are the only two I recognize from the show.
That's interesting.
Viserys,
I always love that
Spider.
guy in the redub where he's like zuba or whatever it is. It's really good. It was the bad voice dubbing of Game of Thrones. It's fantastic. You can see it. All right, so check those out. There's also a Kickstarter you're going to want to check out called Valor, Fairy Tale Comic Anthology. It's got a bunch of people we know from this local city. A bunch of people we know in it, and that's coming. It's more than reached its goal, of course. It's got 17 days to go. It's called Valor, Fairy Tale Comic Anthology about courageous heroines. Check out the Kickstarter, and you guys support them comics. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get these books. Get yourself. It's already supported, but if you want to get yourself a copy, you're gonna want to get on that Kickstarter.
Yeah, and I hear tell that when it reaches a certain amount, there'll be another possible comic added by a certain possible duo.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and it reaches 75 grand. There will possibly be another possible story by a certain comic-making sibling team. Possibly.
That's crazy. Oh, I hope that happens. I'll be honest.
I do too. So support Valor.
Check it out. It's like a good whack of artists and writers. It's going to be great.
Yeah, but support it anyway because it looks amazing.
Yeah, we're on the hour. So to wrap up, the books we do, of course, being drawn right now,
Yes.
is the future. The future of your hands. Soon your hands will hold within them what is seen on all this crap.
I have a card of the cover.
Is that like a receipt? Okay, long story short, Silly Kingdom.
I'm just gonna go back to my face. Give me a sec.
Okay.
So you go, don't break it, don't break it, don't break
Good for
it.
you.
Kim Twist.
Time you want to do that thing you do.
There I am.
Okay.
Yes. So this one. No. This
Okay, well, both of them. Silly Kingdom! It's a book! There could be two of them, very shortly. A new Stephen Dean is being inked before your very eyes. It soon will be in your handsicles, melting into the mythos of legend and story with the delicious. It's great. What you want to do is go to SillyKingdom.com and look it up. We haven't really talked too much about the store because we're still working on it, and we gotta get it done first before we really start pushing it hard. But soon we're going to be pushing it really hard. And making sure you and all your friends know about it, and you can pre-order and stuff. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and there are certain pre-order perks as well, but again, we're not announcing it too much until it's finished. So I'm like, everybody will order, and then it's like,
So you can order it now if you want, but like we're still kind of working on some of the
keeping it a bit on the DL until it's done.
Yeah, until it's done, and then we'll like go nuts with it. But until then, you can also get the other. Where's the other book you're holding?
Which one?
This is that first one. Kingdom Store.
Oh, this guy. This bad boy.
Preceded it. Silly Kingdom, Alvin Richard's 200th birthday. Oh my goodness. You like birthdays, you like magic. Not magic tricks, but destructive kinds. There it is. It's all in the book. You're going to want this book. It's got fun. Got the jokes.
If you like the educational section of this, it's got a making of.
Yes. How many books?
Why it came to be.
Most of them give you a making of. Get yourself a copy of Silly Kingdom. $5 physical, because the physical world is all we have. But the visual world of digital is also all we have. You get that for 99 cents. But hey, you want some life stories. What's this magic? What's this mystery? I want human tales of real people that existed once and still do. Well, Straw Monkeys, what's up? It's got all our original books, stories.
It's full color, by which I mean blue.
It's got color. Oh
it's
my
got
goodness.
all 120 original scripts plus some extra stuff. A little not reader commentary, creator commentary in it as well.
I can't even. You're going to want to get this. What, $10 you say plus shipping? Oh my goodness.
$10 plus shipping.
That's like amazing. I've spent $10 once and I didn't get nearly that much value.
I know. You spend $10 on a sandwich now.
Let me tell you about this Sharknado. For the price of this Sharknado, I could have got both the Silly Kingdom first one and the combo with the Straw Monkeys. Oh my! Why did I even buy this? I should have just gone online right now to Shanahanigans.com, SHANAHANIGANS, gone to the store section and ordered those two books. Oh, let's show that in nice blurry quality. Order those two books and have them shipped right to my home. I don't even have to leave my home if I did that. This guy would show up at my door and he'd be like, "Hey, do you like comics?" And I'd be like, "I'm pretty certain I do." And he's like, "Well, guess what? I went through your mail, and I found these."
You tore open your envelopes.
I kept the cereal box, the free samples.
And I was going to keep them, but the lessons I learned in this book said I should bring it back and share it with you.
I learned not to steal from people, from trouble. It changed my life. So here you go. That will happen to you, guaranteed. Not guaranteed. Straw Monkeys, Shanahanigans. Get that. It's great. That's how you'll help us. Quickly, we got Kuzang Animation saying, shout out for the guys with pencils, yes? You want to check out the guys with pencils. They announced that the series will be ending in the near future at episode 175. So do yourself a favor, subscribe, listen to all the episodes. There's so much learning in that show. You get to hear from all the creators. Guys with pencils. They have a Tumblr. They have the iTunes. It's great. They're good guys.
I don't know if they have the iTunes. They have the Libsyn.
Really? I think they have iTunes. That's how I subscribed to them before. Either way, lots of good learning.
I'm freezing.
Guys with pencils. Toronto's own animators. Real deal.
Yep.
If you want to follow our stuff directly, of course, there's Shanahanigans on the Facebook, SHANAHANIGANS. Go like that page, because that's, even though Facebook doesn't guarantee you're going to see anything we post because of page regulations, You can go there and find out most of what we're up to and most recently and when these shows are happening. Otherwise, you can follow Katie Shy on the Twitters and the Tumblrs, Shaggy Shan on the Twitters and the Tumblrs. All good. We just post whatever we want. Shenanigans Live, this very show, usually happens on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock, sometimes Wednesdays if we're busy, usually around 8 as well. And hopefully that's everything. We will see you guys next week.
Yeah, have a good week. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.
Yep, read good comics and make even better ones. See
Thanks
you
for
guys
helping
next
me,
week.
keeping me company while I ink.
Let's have some popcorn and some Gravity Falls now.
I'm coming right down.
Awesome. See you guys. Cheers.
It says it's still live.
What? I was